Now, the news, the Commission for Gender Equality has withdrawn a statement in which it warned against mandatory Covid-19 vaccination policies, citing possible negative impacts on women's sexual and reproductive health. The Commission was criticized by the Health Department and some experts soon after it made those comments. It now says it erroneously quoted an article published in a medical journal that alleges possible negative consequences of vaccination on women's sexual and reproductive health. To talk more about this, we're joined tonight by Commissioner at the Commission for Gender Equality, Busisiwe Deyi. Ma'am, a very good evening to you. Welcome to News at Prime. So, at the very least, this is an embarrassing episode for the Commission. Do you agree?
At the very least, embarrassing, and it truly reflects an erroneous and egregious lack of proper internal processes from us in ensuring that at least for clinical information, we do require, even if it is at a consultative basis, some internal expertise in order for us to issue statements based on clinical information.
And just on the issue of process, the lapses in the process, what was the process followed in the consideration of the issue and ultimately the drafting of the statement by the Commission?
Well, typically the portfolio rests squarely for communications, rests squarely within the office of the chairperson. Usually when statements are issued, they are done at the discretion of the office of the chairperson. Us commissioners then entrust the office of the chairperson to ensure that it does proper consultative processes. When the statement was issued, the deputy chairperson of the Commission for Gender Equality, Dr. Ntabiseni Molego, sent us an article as part of the basis, by us I mean the rest of the commissioners, as part of the basis for the January 16th statement. Upon reading that, myself and other commissioners raised points around the accuracy of the statement as per the article that she had sent to the rest of the commissioner body. It was through that process that we then engaged further, and we had to have, as the commissioner body, a discussion with the office of the chairperson to say this might require a retraction upon further investigation.
But how could the office of the chairperson make such a mistake, shall we call it? What was the explanation given when you did approach them to say, perhaps you've erred?
Well, currently we don't have the privilege of the conversations that occurred between the chairperson and her deputy. The delegation of such powers within the office of the chairperson is at the discretion of the chairperson, and so we haven't had the privilege, and that might come up during an investigative process should one be initiated. So we are not privy to that information, but we do know that the deputy chairperson was the one who then sent us the information upon which the statement was based, and that is when the rest of the commissioner body had the opportunity to interact with the evidentiary basis for the statement at the time. So we are not currently privileged to that information of how it could have happened.
Let me pick up then on the point you were making about the investigation. You're not saying that one is underway. I'm wondering why it shouldn't indeed commence, and if you believe as a commissioner or as a group of commissioners that the apology issued in the last 24 hours is enough, or if indeed the chairperson and the others responsible for this sort of communication should face some sort of consequence.
Well, again, Tembegile, the process of disciplinary processes or investigative processes is provided for in the Commissioner's Handbook, which does provide for an investigative process to be initiated as a part of the assessment of any potential misconduct. In the event that we do receive a complaint from the public about any individual commissioner, that can also be a basis for the initiation of such investigation. We have not currently received any complaint in relation to this matter, and we have not. The chairperson was in Parliament the entire day this morning presenting a report, so she hasn't really had the opportunity to put her mind to consider whether she should convene a committee, a Section 6 committee in relation to the investigation. So we are also still without those answers, but that function, the disciplinary function for commissioners, rests within the office of the chairperson, and that can be discussed in our next plenary discussion or board meeting for corporate persons, where what action should be taken. But at an organizational level, we have initiated processes that will see a committee being put together to make recommendations on what within our educational mandate, educational programs, the CGE can initiate in order to address the impact and the effects of the January 16th statement.
How worried are you then about the possible chip at the reputation of the Commission for Gender Equality on the basis of the statement, also given the fact that it's about an issue such as COVID-19 vaccinations, which are already so contentious in South Africa and the rest of the world?
We are extremely worried. I think that the recent retraction reflects that commitment to accountability. It reflects the understanding that accountability not only begins and ends with our retraction, but there needs to be proactive actions following, addressing any potential harmful impact. As you said in 2019, Tembegile, that CGE has a very long way to walk, especially the office of the chairperson, to walk a long distance to win back the public trust and the trust of the staff members of the CGE, and therefore we are committed as commissioners to ensuring that we walk that distance and to ensure that we regain the trust of the South African public and the trust of our staff members.
And on the issue of the COVID-19 vaccines and the impact or effects, shall we say, on some women's menstrual cycle and the like, there had been some reporting to that degree. I think it was overseas, right? But it was found to be a very small amount of women who said that they'd seen some change. When you look at that, is it something that you think that in South Africa the health sector should monitor more closely perhaps and get more research?
As you know, Tembegile, South Africa's monitoring of the COVID-19 virus has been world-class, and we continue to have our faith in the medical staff and medical members and members of the medical fraternity to continue to do that stellar work that's at a world standard. So we have no concerns about the work that is currently being done in addressing some of these particular issues. We do want to note that we are not clinicians as the CGE, and I think that's what was an important need. That is why there was an important need to retract the statement. We are not clinicians, but upon further investigation and upon engagement with various bodies that, as you've noted, have written to the CGE, we noted that there have been several studies, both in America, in the United Kingdom, and in Norway, that have said that it does not, the changes in the menstrual cycle, firstly, do not rise to the point of clinical significance, and so do not engage any of the rights and concerns around the sexual and reproductive health of women and other gender minorities and people who have wombs. And the second part of it is that the impact does not seem to be permanent. In fact, it's not permanent at all. It's transient. And by the third month, generally, the cycle returns back to normal. And this change in the cycle has no impact on fertility or any concerns around reproductive health for women. So we trust that the South African medical fraternity and the work that's being done would have picked up any concerns that relate to the sexual and reproductive health of women and people who have wombs.
So, Busisiwe, then, final question. I'm sure you've seen some of the views by people who supported that initial statement. They've said, some of them, in the last 24 hours, that you've basically buckled under pressure.
I don't think we've buckled under pressure. What we have done, Temegile, and I think that this is perhaps an important aspect of, and a key aspect of the leadership within the office of the chairperson, is that within the CGE, when commissioners engaged with the statement and presented evidence, the chairperson, Tamara Matebula, organized a meeting where she considered the evidence, and upon realization of what had happened, immediately engaged with the communications team and said that a retraction must be made. And for us as the CGE, we take pride in that level of accountability. That is not buckling under pressure. That is accountability. That is ensuring that you understand your mandate, you understand the trust that's been given to you by the South African public, and you do justice by being an ethical leader, and that is what we think is an important lesson that we should draw as the CGE. But importantly, the lesson that we should draw is that we do need internal mechanisms, particularly as it relates to public health and clinical studies.
Busisiwe Deyi, Commissioner at the Commission for Gender Equality, grateful for your time. Thank you.